Hello and thank you for joining us on the Monday edition of Journalist Hangouts, reaching you from our new studios here at Eko Atlantic City, Victoria Island, Lagos. I am Benga Oreshegun. Today on the program, Aminu Bayero heads to Supreme Court over Kano Emirship verdict. And later on the show, founder of Daystar Christian Center, Dr. Sam Adeyemi, shares expertise in leadership development, strategic business consulting, and personal transformation. I'll be hanging out with Emeka Madunago and Kayode Ladende, while Babajide Kolade Otitoju joins us via Zoom. Journalist Hangout starts right now. Now, there is no end in sight yet regarding the Tussle region in the Kano Emirate. The Sarki Dawanki Baba of Kano, Aminu Baba Dan Agundi, has rejected the verdict of the Court of Appeal, which nullified the ruling of the Federal High Court on the Kano Emirship dispute. Dan Agundi, a senior member of the Kano Emirate Council, expressed dissatisfaction with the judgment and directed his legal team to pursue the matter to the Supreme Court. He insisted that Aminu Ado Bayero remains the rightful emir of Kano. So I'm going to be starting this conversation this way with Kayode. Now, Aminu Bayero is now heading to the Supreme Court, looking at this Kano emirship. But Appeal Court has ordered for a retrial. But let me ask you, do you think the Appeal Court judgment ordering for fresh trial on the Kano Emirate legal dispute, do you think is some sort of a middle ground decision?
Okay, to start with, it's expected that the matter will be completely interpreted and resolved by the Supreme Court. That is expected. But taking a quick look at the appeal court, you know, there are two different interpretations. You know, the Bayero team is saying that, excuse me, the way the Commissioner for Justice is going about it is the wrong way. But for me, I think what is most important is to wait for the Supreme Court. All the while, the two, in quotes, emirs have been ruling by way of different ways. So until we have this issue resolved at the Supreme Court, that's when we can look at it holistically. But one thing is clear. Sanusi was removed by political reasons and is reinstated by political reasons. How politicians navigate the whole process, it's a matter that we'll continue to talk about. How was he removed? Because he had some kind of political differences with the sitting governor then, talking about Ganduje. And of course, when the Kwakwanso person, that's Yusuf, came in, you wouldn't expect that he would not also want to bring him back. So, but then we are going to test it again at the Apex Court to see who is actually the rightful owner to the throne. On the issue of the discrepancies around the appeal court, I think it's a case of they wouldn't have gone to the Supreme Court if the judgment is not tilting towards Sanusi.
Now, if you look at the origin of this matter, state interference in traditional affairs, do you see an end to this?
End is a very, very abstract word. There can't be an end to it as long as the funding and everything comes from the state government. Trust me, we can only continue to wish. It's not something that will ever happen. That's something I can tell you for free. Whether we can go back to the order, as long as they are the one releasing the funds, trust me, there will always be an interference.
Emeka, come in here. The Court of Appeal decision, what does it mean to you?
Well, what it means is that the Court of Appeal has rightly situated the issue of jurisdiction, you know, and competence, you know, in this matter, that it lies within the competence and the jurisdiction of a state high court in Kano to handle chieftaincy matters. All right. Now, what is at play here is sort of a replay of the routes that Sanusi navigated when he was removed. You know, he actually filed, you know, a fundamental rights suit. You know, I said his fundamental rights were breached. Now, there was a smart way in which they set everything. That, okay, they were not challenging the chieftaincy, declaration of the House of Assembly or the governor, but the fact of his fundamental rights, that his fundamental rights were breached after he was deposed. In other words, he was not given fair hearing.
Okay.
Now look at the, Alhaji Bayero towing the same path. I'm not talking about the decision of the House of Assembly. I'm not talking about the decision of the state government. I'm talking about the fact that I was not given fair hearing. In other words, my fundamental rights were breached.
Okay.
Now, where the issue of fundamental rights comes up, there have been different, decided cases on,
okay.
Where the issue of fundamental rights comes up. Fair hearing. Of course, it's constitutional that, all the pattern, you must hear the other side. Now, where the other side is able to prove, substantially that it was not given a fair hearing, it can actually, hurt the case, of the, of the other party, in this case, the respondent. But now, the Bayero side has quickly, they are trying to shoot from two different angles.
Okay.
They have quickly said that, okay, they are ready. They are waiting to go back to the state high court. But at the same time, they are going to the Supreme Court, to challenge, the issue of, fair, the issue of the appeal court. Yeah. But definitely, I don't see the Supreme Court substantially, shifting away from the Court of Appeal, insofar as it has to do with that issue of jurisdiction, which has been settled by the Court of Appeal. So I think the whole matter, even the kingmaker, the post-kingmaker was saying he's prepared, even if it takes 20 years, he's prepared. So they're actually also looking ahead that what if the Supreme Court doesn't, decide that, doesn't say the matter should go back to the Federal High Court? What if it upholds the decision of the appeal court that it should go to the state high court?
Because
so,
the traditional...
of course, that issue, that's a central issue, So if the Supreme Court says it should go, we're already prepared for the state high court.
Okay.
It's not as if we're expecting,
right.
What he didn't say. It's not as if we're expecting any a different outcome at the Supreme Court. So we are prepared for the state high court. And that one can drag for as long as, well, he says they are ready to wait.
Okay.
So.
All right, let's hear from BK, who is joining us via Zoom. BK, talk to me. Okay, not available at this moment. All right, let's move straight to our next